How many questions are on this test?
When we look at this, I know the very first question I ask myself is how many questions are on this test? And this particular test, sometimes it's deceiving. It says it all the way at the top, 0 out of 19. Now when I click here, it only says 2, but this test really has 19 questions on it.
I'm wondering how to use the read aloud tools.
The next feature I want to talk about is the read aloud feature, because you can use that on the math test. If you click the hamburger, you will see we have several options in here. We have the tutorial, the mark for review, and the speak question. So if you hit speak question, it will read it aloud to you.
What if I don't know how to type an answer?
Now also in that hamburger, you notice there's a button called tutorial. And that tutorial button, it will tell you, if you're like, I don't know how to type in my answer, it will give you a little direction page of what you're supposed to do. And as you can see, this one, first you read the directions. And then it shows you how you push the buttons to type in your answer. This might be helpful on some of the geometry drawing.
Can I skip questions and go back and finish them?
If you're thinking, man, I don't know what to do for this problem, you click the mark for review and it puts a little flag up here in the corner. So when you get to the end of the test, it will remind you to come back and check this problem. Oh, but then you're like, oh, I do know what to do. I'm going to unmark it. You can click the unmark review and it takes away the flag. We don't want you to forget. If you want to skip and go on and come back, make sure you're using the mark for review option, the little flag.
Can you tell me what the line reader is?
So now I'm going to talk about a multiple choice question. This question here, you can see I have turned on this feature called Line Reader up here in the corner. When you hit Line Reader, it highlights the sentence that you pick to have highlighted. This is really good for ELA and if you are having a hard time staying focused. And another thing I want to point out in this question is the word to is in bold print. So I know when I go to do this question, I need to answer 2 of the multiple choice. I need to mark 2 of them as my answer.
What is the strike through option?
Another feature that is good to know is we have the strike through for multiple choice. So if there's answers I know I don't want to consider, I'm going to hit strike through and then cross off which ones I don't like. So now you can see I crossed off those 2. Oh wait, I don't think it's that answer. So I picked 2 answers, I crossed off 2, and I'm going to proceed to the next question.
Susie, what's the answer to number 8?
1,000,002,000.
That was what she said for number 4.
Don't be a Mr. Garrity. No talking during the OSTs.
How do I move on to the next question?
So when you go to the next question, we are going to use this green arrow that says next every time. That way we make sure we do every problem that's on the test. So now we have another multiple choice question and you can use those same features in the hamburger. The tutorial gives you steps in case you don't know what to do. Mark for review. This one you can have them speak the choices or the question at the top.
How do I make the passage bigger so I can read it?
The second thing we want to talk about is this arrow button right here. These 2 little arrows. If we hit that, it makes the passage much bigger and easier to read. And then you can scroll down and read the entire passage Oh, look, this one has 2 passages attached, so we need to make sure that we read both of them. Now, let's say you're done reading. You go back up here and click the double arrow button to shrink it back down so you can see the questions.
Don't be a Mr. Garrity. Use your paper productively to solve your problems or plan your writing. Do your best on the test.
How do I use the highlight feature?
Students often wonder, how do I highlight in this passage? So I clicked on the hamburger and it says highlight selection. But then students will go over here and they're like, wait a second, it's not working, because it's a little backward thinking. Because the very first thing we have to do is find what we want to highlight in the passage. So if I want to highlight President Roosevelt paragraph, I hold my finger down and drag it to the part I want to highlight and let go. And then I'm going to come up to the hamburger and hit this highlight selection button. Now it is highlighted. If I skip to another question, this will stay highlighted, which might be helpful when you get to question 7 and you have to write the essay. So as you're completing the other questions, you might highlight things that you want to remember to put into the essay. But let's say you get, after you highlight, you're like, I don't need that anymore. How do I get rid of it? We're going to come back up here to the hamburger, and it says reset highlighting. This will erase all the highlighting that you did. So I hit reset highlighting, and now it has disappeared. Now what if you want to highlight over on the multiple choice side? Same strategy. We're going to put our finger on the text, hold it down and highlight the part that you want to highlight. And then we're going to come up to the hamburger on this side of the page and hit highlight selection. And now it has highlighted the part that I marked. But then I'm like, oh wait, I don't need it anymore. I go back to the hamburger and I'm going to go to reset highlight to get rid of it. Another feature about highlighting that might be helpful to know is we're going to highlight 4 paragraphs I think are important. So I go to the hamburger, I hit the highlight selection, and so I have marked those, but then after I think about it, I'm like, oh, this paragraph 10, I don't really want that highlighted anymore. So then you go back, hold your finger on it, and make your box where you drag over the part you want to unhighlight. Then you're going to go up to the hamburger and hit remove highlight, which is going to take off the highlighting just on that paragraph that you highlighted. So that also might be helpful when you're narrowing down what you want to write about on that essay question.
How do I submit my test when I'm done?
Before I check out and say I'm finished, the system tells me which ones I flagged that I want to go back and check, and which ones I didn't do at all. So you can see I skipped a lot of questions. I'm going to go back and fix those. And to do that, I click on, I'm going to do number 1 first. If you click on the question, it takes you right back into the test so you can answer it. You do not want to hit submit until you have no triangles or flags on this page. So please make sure you check that before you hit submit test.
Done. I'm done.
Don't be a Mr. Garrity and click through the test. Take your time, think through the problems, persevere, show what you know, and check your work when you're done. You've got this.